Good afternoon, everyone. Brad Macbeth here. I guess I can take these off now. It's great to be with you, and we're looking forward to a great interview with financial coach Jenn Pauls today. She's going to talk to us about Christmas and what that's all about, and how you can get through Christmas without creating more financial mess or stress for yourselves. So we're going to get going here. As always, we thank our sponsor, the Simple Plan community, and we invite you to join the Simple Plan community. You can find us at facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. Okay, so we are coming hard upon Christmas. It's about 10 days away now, so hopefully these tips will help you figure out how to get through Christmas, really enjoy it. We really believe that you should be able to love Christmas and the holidays, however you celebrate them. But a lot of times people come to a nasty financial hangover in January, and that's what we want to avoid. And so, Jen, come on, it's great to have you with us. And how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful, thanks. Really a pleasure to be here today.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And is it beginning to look a lot like Christmas in your neck of the woods?
No, it's beginning to look a lot like mud.
Oh dear, that's unpleasant.
I
I,
know. But you know what? If you drive around at night, Brad, with the Christmas lights on, you can't tell.
there you go. Yeah. Well, we actually had it looking pretty Christmassy here, and amazingly, in parts of Vancouver, it was very Christmassy the other
Nice.
day. So, yeah, it's been a good time. We're in Kelowna, right? So we're kind of stranded behind broken roads that they're working hard to repair. So, funnily enough, even Amazon can't promise to get Christmas gifts here right now on time. So,
Oh,
yeah. So we'll see how that all sorts out. But you know what? That's not really what Christmas is about.
no.
So, I wanted to share with you. Let me pull it up here. A few things that I found just today, in fact, some interesting Christmas financial statistics.
Ooh, yeah, bring them out.
Parents plan. Now, these are American statistics, so take them with a grain of salt, but I think some of them probably are pretty close to Canadian realities as well. Parents plan to spend an average of $276 per child when it comes to Christmas gifts in 2021.
Mm.
Now, interestingly, only 10% of Europeans ever look at going into debt for Christmas, but 41% of Americans, and I'm going to guess Canadians are not far behind that, are willing to take on debt due to gift shopping. So,
Ow.
what are your thoughts about taking on debt to buy Christmas gifts?
You know that scene in Elf where he's just screaming, no! That's kind of how I feel about it. Don't
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Don't do it. It is not worth the January to June hangover of putting Christmas on a credit card.
yeah, yeah, I agree. And also, on top of that, it says that 1 in 10 people returns their gifts to the store,
Mm.
and 15.2 billion is the estimated total of unwanted presents. So, to correlate people going into debt with presents being returned and $15 billion of unwanted presents, it seems like the only people that are going to be happy are Amazon and their cohorts.
Oh, for sure. Those are staggering numbers, Brad.
I know it's crazy, and it keeps escalating. And I talk to kids about what do you want for Christmas, and they're not talking about $50 gifts, right? I want this game system. I want, they're gifts that are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And
Yes.
I feel for parents that are in that boat today. That's
Yes.
very difficult. So, can you tell me, just share with us a bit, what do you do as a financial coach?
Yeah. So, as a financial coach, I help people to manage their money, right? By coming up with a plan. And so, this could be a personal cash flow plan, spending plan, budget, however you want to say it. It's coming up with a way for them to learn to manage their dollars, to eliminate debt, and to be able to overcome mindset challenges and focus on the dreams that they really want to achieve. And we break it down into the steps to help make that happen. And using that cash flow plan is our number one way of helping people to start to take control of what is often a very difficult topic to take control of.
Excellent. Yes, well, I believe I saw that the number one or number two resolution. And, I'm careful about resolutions, but I'm huge on planning for the new
Yeah.
year. I love the turn of the year and the opportunity to kind of see where we've gotten to and then reset to go forward. But the number one or two financial resolution that people make in Canada is to get out of debt.
Yeah.
And we see that every year, and yet the debt just keeps climbing. So, who do you think typically needs or uses a financial coach?
That's a great question. So, statistically, 8 out of 10 Canadians are living paycheck to paycheck. So, I would say most people need help. But seriously, those who use the services that a financial coach offers, they've often struggled for many years to make the best money decisions, and they need that guidance, support, and accountability that a coach can offer them. Because it's not just about the tools, Brad. Like anybody can find how to make a budget anywhere, but it's having that relationship and someone to help guide them through their personal journey. That's what really makes working with a coach um, really a great experience for them and a lasting one, right? It's not like drop 30 pounds in 30 days and then you're done. We're talking about life change here and being in the community of like minded people and having that support of a coach. That helps a lot of people who are ready to learn and take on their finances.
Right, exactly. So, what is the goal for someone who's working with a financial coach?
Yeah. So the broad goal is to get their financial house in order, right? Like our clients are looking to trade fear for hope, debt for success, scarcity for stability, and anxiety for peace. Because a lot of these negative things are holding back so many people in both Canada and the States. And so, someone working with us, that goal is to really take those things and bring clarity to how to get around them. So, establishing savings, eliminating debt, and not just paying it off like in June. Most people's Christmas spending paid off in June. We're talking paying it off and not taking on anymore, right? Like life change, habit change, mind change, as well as planning for the future. So, a lot of the goals tend to circle around those couple things there.
Absolutely. So, um, how are the holidays specifically a hazard for people's families?
Oh my goodness, where do we start? Like every commercial, every city bus that drives by, every mall that's open is a hazard to us. There's a lot of things that are actually stealing for our time, attention, and dollars at this time of year. Parties, holiday
Mm,
cards, Secret Santa or cookie exchanges, elaborate decorations and meals, holiday outfits, and of course the presents,
right.
right? So many hazards, so many things that we want to say yes to. Um, and really, without a plan, many people overextend their financial capacity and end up putting it on credit. And like we just mentioned, paying it off like in another 6 months or so. And so, just in time for summer vacation,
Right.
and then ready to start over.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And so, what are some of the guidelines that you give your clients to help them get through the holidays, enjoy the holidays,
Yes.
but not make a mess of their finances?
Yeah, absolutely. The number one thing is a plan, right? Just like a recipe for Christmas cookies, if you don't follow it, you'll just end up with a mess, right? There'll be so much waste, there'll be a mess. And that's not what we want. That's not how we're going to enjoy the holidays, right? So, tip number one is to have a plan. And what this plan looks like is surprise budget. Right? Like
Yeah.
we have to decide how we're going to spend our money and how much we're willing to spend on the holidays.
So how do you figure that? How do you, I know my wife mentioned just the other day that she saw a stat about how much people spend on Christmas, what percentage of their income, not how much they spend, what was recommended. And I think the current average right now is somewhere around $900 or something like that. And that might be what people, I think that might be what people are planning to spend. So I'm going to imagine they probably got to at least 1,000. And
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. I believe it too, right? That number. Because when you factor in, it's not just the gifts, right? It's all of those things we mentioned. It's the baking, the meals, the get togethers, the parties. When you tally up how much all of those things cost, the number can be quite inflated. And I think it depends, Brad, on different families, their situations. Income level is going to play a role in it, but also how much planning has gone in advance, right? At this time, with just a couple weeks left until Christmas, there might not be a lot of time to budget much more in. However, planning for next year could look a lot different. And so, really, the number we want to focus on is the number that you can afford, right? And a
right.
number that is reasonable for your family. And it might look big, it might look small. But in the end, it's choosing that number. And so tip number 2 actually is to make a list of all those things that you want to participate in this holiday that have a cost, and dollar it out, right? And so if somebody's thinking, I want to spend $1,000, but really they only have 500 that they can spend in order to avoid debt, Brad, they should totally just budget that 500 and make an awesome creative holiday for their family. And it'll give you a guideline of what you're going to say yes to and what you're going to say maybe next year, right? It's that boundary. We all love that word, boundaries, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's I think very true that for the most part people don't over time don't remember gifts, right? Like I look back, I have no idea. Well, honestly, I'd be hard pressed to remember what I got for gifts for the last few years unless I really worked at it. But,
Yeah.
I look back when I was 14, I have no idea what I got. But I certainly have memories of Christmases, but those memories are all about the people that I was with and where we were and what we did together. They weren't about the gifts, even though being the mercenary 14-year-old I'm sure I was very focused on those gifts at that time.
Sure, absolutely. And it can be a challenge in our culture that we're fighting against, right? Especially when you have certain families or demographics asking for four, five, $600 gifts each. You got a
Yeah,
family like mine with 3 kids. I'm like, okay, do I pay my mortgage this month or buy 3 presents,
right.
right? So there's all sorts of different factors that go into the decision making. But I think you nailed it on the head, Brad, that it's about the memories and spending time with the people we love. Yes, the gifts are great, but breaking the bank for it in the long run doesn't make us any further ahead. Doesn't win us affections. It's the time and the memories that really really count.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
I know we've made a concerted effort to try to dial back the spending, not like among all our family, right? To like, look, let's not do this. We
Yeah.
don't have to, right? I'm
Yeah.
very happy to get together and enjoy each other's company, and again, the things that I think about, like at my parents' place down in Steveston, which is kind of a little enclave in Vancouver. There's actually a parade, a little local community parade that goes by on Christmas Eve. I don't know if it's happening this year, but that's one of the things that I remember is standing out there. It would come by while we were usually having dinner, and so
Yeah.
we'd stop what we're doing. We'd all run outside, and some of the best ones, and there weren't many, happened when it was snowing, right? So you're going
Yeah.
outside, and there's this parade float going by with Santa waving and whatever and all that stuff. And the kids are there, and it's a beautiful thing, right? And those are the
Yeah.
things that are really, I think, meaningful to all of us, those types of things. And that's why Christmas is special to us, because a lot of us have those types of memories from when
Yes.
we were younger.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's great to be able to make memories by doing things that are cheap or free, right?
Yeah,
It's free to walk outside and go to a parade or drive around the city and look at the lights and take a nature walk through a trail. And if you're up here in Canada and you get snow, then go find a nature trail with snow and feed the chickadees. It's so fun just to do all these fun things.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We have someone locally here, just in this, pardon me, on the other side of town, that has an incredible. Obviously they're in this business, light display that
Yeah.
they've set up where there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of lights, and it's all
Yeah.
synchronized to this incredible music soundtrack. And the whole thing takes an hour to play. It must have taken the guy a year to put it all together. And we go out there, we park,
Wow.
the music comes over your radio. It's broadcast on a little FM transmitter. So you can sit in your
Oh,
car,
fun.
listen to the music, and watch this incredible light show go on for an hour. No
That's terrific.
charge.
I imagine it's like Trans Siberian Orchestra or something fabulous,
Yes,
right?
yeah, I know that's part of it. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's terrific. Well, and when you're doing these things, like it can be fun to go and like pick up a hot chocolate or something like that. And that kind of brings us around to tip number 3, which is to use cash and assign an amount to each category. And things with that, the thing with that is that you're taking control and you have this boundary of cash that helps you to remain intentional, right? And get creative, because if you're noticing that you're getting a little low on cash, maybe you're not hitting the slopes for the weekend, you're going and listening to the magical light show, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I agree with you. We are big proponents of using cash, and I've
Yeah.
noticed that that's become pretty weird. It's almost shocking. Every till we go to now, they've already punched in that you're going to use your card, right? And they have to cancel it, and then they're like,
Right?
"What? What is this?" And
Yep.
and of course that's just been massively advanced by COVID, when it's like, well, we don't want to handle cash. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's but cash. The way I put it is, when I was a kid, well, when I was a young adult, even my first few jobs, we got paid with a check, a paper check, or in cash.
Yep.
Those were the only two ways to deal with money at the time. And
Yeah.
so, because there was no credit available mostly then, and certainly not to younger people, basically when you were out of money, you were out of money, right? When you got to
Yeah.
zero, that's where it was at, right? Now, as
Yeah.
Jim Rohn puts it, it's like nowadays you just go zipping right on past zero, way,
Yeah.
way down into that pit. And
Yes.
and so because of that, people have no sense of where's the bottom of my barrel, right? They can't make a decision about their money based on an innate sense from experience of how much money do I actually have. And so you really do have to put systems in place, and cash is one of those great systems.
Yeah. Absolutely. And didn't you find, Brad, that back then in those days of like real cash all the time as an accepted way of paying, um, did you find that you were more creative and that the money actually went further because you were more intentional with how you spent it?
Yes, definitely. And honestly, there was actually much less to spend it on then as well. That's another big difference. Like we didn't eating out would be one of the big things that goes on now that never used to happen on the scale that it happens now.
Yes.
And that all of that's good. Well, in fact, I remember going with my family to a Canucks game, and it was like I think $20 a person, and we got fantastic tickets and a dinner at one of the finest steak restaurants in Vancouver for that. Now, of
Yeah.
course, going to an NHL game is $150 for a seat in the nosebleeds.
Yeah. Yep. Times have changed.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, because of that, and I think that's more of a big city problem in smaller places. Like, I've worked in smaller centers here in British Columbia, some of them further in the north. And when you go out there in the winter, yeah, they got lots of toys. They've got sleds, they've got whatever, but they're outside because that's what there is to do there. They
Yes.
don't have a main street that's got, 100 different types of amusements to spend your money on. Well, you can
Yeah.
live the same way in the city. You just have to be intentional about it. And it
Yeah.
might take you a little longer to get to the great outdoors, but it's not that very far away usually for most of us in Canada. We're really blessed
No,
that way.
absolutely. No, you're so right. Even those of us who live in the city, to take a country walk, you're talking like maybe 20 minutes,
Yeah.
right? And you can find a trail somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You know,
or an ice rink outside on a pond or something.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I love downhill skiing, but at our local hill now, if you're paying the full retail price, you're $150 a pop. Well,
Yeah.
so I say, well, okay, fine if you want to do that, but you can go cross country skiing for very cheap, and you can go
Yes.
snowshoeing for even cheaper.
Yeah.
So those are great and fun things to do.
Yeah.
They're just not quite as easy and maybe not as glamorous as some of those as skiing or snowboarding,
Yeah.
but they're also much less hard on the pocketbook.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, you can get used equipment like everywhere, right? And so you're paying a fraction of the cost. It's funny you bring up cross country skiing because that was actually one of the gifts I remember receiving as a child. And my parents had pulled me aside and they're like, okay, so it would have been expensive for us to all get new skis. So yours, they were actually from a yard sale. So that's what the duct tape mark is on the top.
Yes.
But it was fine, right? Like, I don't know,
Yep.
maybe I was about 12 or 13 at the time and it was fine, right? I'm a quality time person. I didn't really care. I was happy to have something to go out as a family with. But it's okay. Used things are okay too, right? It's
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, there's some wisdom in that. But yeah, that's it. So that types in like, cheap stuff.
Yeah.
You get
Well,
getting a good deal, quality time, memories,
yeah.
um, all the things, right? Cash at a yard sale.
Cash at a yard sale. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any more tips that you want to share with us before we wrap this up?
Yeah. So the last one would be to keep track. Have a system in place where you're keeping track of things, whether that's a separate budget for your Christmas spending or in your regular monthly budget, keeping track of it, adding up those receipts at the end of the day just to see what's left. And keeping things separate, like if you're using cash for holiday gifts and meals and travel, have three envelopes, have a system in place, some way of tracking it so that you're not going overboard and extending your means. The thing about holiday spending is it's a joy to give a gift, right? Like it does something both for us, the giver, and the receiver.
Hmm.
And we don't want that gift to be the burden of the new year and for getting out of debt and fixing up the Christmas mess to be part of your resolution, right? We want to be able to have a fresh start in January. So if you apply these things, getting on a plan, doing a budget, making a list, using cash, and then tracking, you're well on your way to having a less hazardous holiday.
Right. So, we have a question that's come in from someone that's
Yeah.
watching, and that is, do you have any suggestions for how keeping track of things digitally? Like, do you have a tool that you like to use, or?
Mhm. Yeah, so I like to use the online budgeting app Every Dollar.
Hmm.
I really like that one because you can input your income, track your expenses easily. It's super simple to operate and use on either the computer or your devices. If you're married, so long as your spouse has the email address and login information, you guys can keep track like in sync so everybody knows where the money's at. That's a really great tool to be able to use for online digital tracking.
Okay. Now, does that connect to bank accounts as well?
I believe if you have the paid version, it can do some of that stuff. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure how that works for Canadians.
Okay.
And it does seem to prefer Apple devices as far as like
Okay.
if a phone that you're tracking it on. I don't know why. Another version would be Mint. I've not used it
Right.
myself, but I know several people who have used it and really appreciate that, and that's a Canadian version.
Yeah. And I have used Mint as well, and I agree. It's a really good tool, and it connects very well. Most banks have some form of a system built in.
Mm,
That only works well if you deal with just one bank, though, including for your credit cards. Otherwise,
sure.
you can't connect the information. Whereas things like Every Dollar and Mint, you can connect the information in.
Yeah.
And now it's so simple to do that. Maybe it's going to take you somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour to set it all up, depending on how technically comfortable you are. But
Yeah.
once you get it going, these apps are pretty smart. Most of them are pretty smart at even categorizing most of the expenditures. Now,
Mm,
if you're not using cash, even though we say you should, if you're using plastic, that stuff's just all going to get poured into your system in Every Dollar or Mint, and all those transactions will get categorized. And it's pretty smart about knowing what's what. So if it says, if it was Starbucks, you used your debit card, then it's going to categorize that as meals and restaurants or coffee or whatever else. And then you can
mm,
teach it and it learns. So once you're a few months in, that stuff
yeah.
just flows in. You don't even have to spend any time other than to look at it,
Yes.
understand it, analyze it, and then take action.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think, Brad, for the beginners, like those who are just starting out, it's actually best to not have that connection so that they have to be intentional about going in and tracking it themselves.
Sure.
And seeing that having that connection, because even though it's digital, it's almost like using real cash when you're doing that connection, and then it's a great feature. I agree for um, the experienced budgeter to be able to just have that quick look, that quick assessment, and know, at the flick of a button, or flick of a screen, where you're at in your money situation, and able
Yeah.
to make informed decisions from there.
Yeah. And if you've put your budget in there, it will also warn you, right? You could be standing there at the Tim Hortons lineup and it's like, you're over already. Wait a minute.
Go home and make your coffee.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, no, good
this has been
question.
great. And actually, I know I wanted to mention that people can join your community, your online community, the Smart Money community.
Yes.
And so we created so it would fit on our screen, a URL that was a little shorter. So if you just go to bit.ly/smart money community, that'll take you right there, and you can join in with the great smart money community they've got going over there with Mike and Jen and the rest of their team.
Awesome. Yeah, we'd love to see you in there.
Yeah. So this has been really great, Jen. I really appreciate it. Really enjoy your perspective, and I know my viewers will as well. And so, all the best to you. I hope you have a great Christmas. I'm confident you're going to have a well managed financially Christmas. And we are as well. That's really thanks to my wife. She has spreadsheets and she really keeps track and takes care of that. So we only started doing that a few years ago, but it's been a huge change for us. And I now have no anxiety. Before, every time you're spending money, you
Yeah.
go, oh my, should I? And that's the thing people don't understand. Having a plan
Yeah.
like that, it actually frees you. It doesn't cage you. Now I'm comfortable. I know what I can
Mhm.
spend, and I'm
Yeah.
spending it without any worries or fears.
Exactly. It's your permission to spend list. You can spend
Yeah,
all the dollars on that list.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Jen,
Awesome. Thanks so
it's
much,
been great
Brad.
to be with you. Thanks very much. And all the best for Christmas. I hope you and your family have a great time and a wonderful new year. And I'm sure we'll see you and be working together in the new year.
Looking forward to it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well. Bye bye.
Bye.
Well, thanks very much to our guest today, Jen. It was really good to have her with us, and I'm looking forward to a great new year. We have some plans in place we'll be letting you know about through our live broadcast that happen on Fridays. And all the best to you and your family through the holidays. And I hope you really do take this advice to heart, that you can enjoy Christmas without getting yourself into a financial mess or financial miseries. Want to say thanks again to our sponsor, the Simple Plan community. You can join it at facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. You'll be kept abreast of everything we've got going on, events, tools, great tips, and have a whole community to travel with on your financial journey to doing better with your money, feeling confident about your money, and just having some great peace in your heart about what's going on financially. So all the best to you, and we'll see you again soon.